Yeah, according to the Egyptians, that's how the world was created.
By jorking it?
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
Jorking it in a pyramid sense.
Yeah, Atum arose from the chaos of the sea, sat upon the mound, and then masturbated his two children into existence. Yeah.
Brian is just reading off of a scroll he's pulled from nowhere?
Yeah, well, that's the Alfred Papyrus. We're an old standing Coptic family. It goes all the way back, baby.
That's why originally jerking off is called Alfreding it.
That's right.
So many possible worlds, but we got this one. So many possible worlds, but we got this one.
Welcome to the Worst of All Possible Worlds, the first and only podcast that Alfreds it every week. I'm the worst of all possible Joshes.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
And I'm the worst of all possible Brians. Every week? That's a little infrequent, if you ask me.
We do it so hard it gets so raw immediately.
We're doing it for 3 hours every week. So like
I just created the whole universe, and boy, are my arms tired.
So yes, we're back with yet another week of case studies in the pop culture of a dying empire, and specifically for another installment of everybody's favorite subseries, Whit's Endless Summer, the ongoing subseries, that's right, of the Worst of All Possible Worlds, where we talk about Adventures in Odyssey, the children's radio drama produced by Focus on the Family. And boy, are my arms tired. We have with us this week a returning fave. We're so happy to have him back. He is the co-host of Lions Led by Donkeys and a proud fellow Michigander, Joe Kassabian. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me and having me listen to quite possibly the worst series of podcasts I think I've ever sat down and listened to.
Yes!
I had no idea what I was getting into, really. I knew it involved James Dobson, rest in piss.
Yeah.
I believe you were the first person I texted when I saw that he died.
Yeah, I think that's right.
There were a lot of people who reached out to us.
I can imagine.
A deluge of text.
In our time of suffering
And it was like,
and grief.
we know. We know.
I do really like that every bad character must be portrayed as either A, foreigner, or B, a 50s greaser bad guy.
Yes.
But also only kind of. There are characters on this show that embody the greaser so much better than the one we get in this batch of episodes.
Yeah, there's like an entire ward of Odyssey, Ohio, where everyone who lives there has like a switchblade comb.
That is how my mom envisions Ohio in general. Like, to be fair, I enjoy nothing more than shitting on Ohioans and also my own personal suffering.
Actually, Brian, before we get into the set of episodes, why did you grab this particular set? Was it just like to try to torture Joe in a particular way?
No. I mean, I did try to I was like, okay, if Joe's coming on, I've got to grab something related to either the military or history. There's nothing about Armenians in Adventures in Odyssey. For all 1,000 episodes that they have covered, they have never covered the only true Christians in the world.
That's right.
Like Whit has never taken a trip to Glendale.
That makes two of us, to be fair. Much like Whit, I avoid it like the floor is made out of lava.
It's like, you just can't trust him.
Look at all of that shoulder hair.
So, the theme that I went with this time around was calling. Like appealing to the call. We have reached the point in the continuity where Eugene is going to go and try to join a monastery. So I was like, what are other episodes that kind of have a similar thematic component to that? Which is like this idea of like, how do you figure out what God wants you to do? And then how do you follow that call once the still small voice starts speaking to you?
Yeah, Brian, he just tells you, though. Just like right out tells you what to do.
It's really easy.
Yeah.
It's super, super easy. He gets a couple of ravens to feed you meat, and then he meets you at the top of a mountain, and you're all good.
He Alfreds all over you, and then you just know.
That's right.
Know?
That's how you know it's love.
Yeah.
It's the Holy Spirit.
And I think there's no better example of God's love than what we see in episode 366, Solitary Refinement. This one is written by Dave Arnold and Paul McCusker and directed by Phil Lawler.
29 minutes long.
I don't know. So I remember this
normally
episode.
this long?
No,
I'm
absolutely
surprised by
not.
how long they were.
Like, because these were made for the radio, and so they had to fit into like a 23-minute slot. So what we get,
ads.
they always had added scenes that they'd throw in whenever they put it on tape. And for this one, they had a lot of extra scenes that they should have just kept out. They weren't good scenes. This is not a worthwhile episode in any regard.
I can't believe it required 2 writers.
Well, it started. So Dave Arnold himself is not much of a writer.
I can tell.
Or an actor.
No,
Or a human.
He is the producer, or a father. He is the producer of this show, and he, I guess, just had the story idea for Eugene joining a monastery, where it would have ended with Eugene actually joining the monastery, and then Paul McCusker, who is a writer on the show, was like, "Okay, well, let me fix it," and then he didn't.
Because this episode starts with Bernard and Eugene. Bernard, our everyman window washer, who is also a small business tyrant. And Eugene, our genius orphan autodidact.
Recent convert.
Now, Eugene, we'll remember, has been in the dumps owing to
Getting
his
dumped?
relationship with his on-again, off-again sweetheart, Katrina.
She almost left him for a better Christian than him,
That's
and then
right.
just decided not to date anyone.
I hate when that happens.
It sucks. So Eugene has these brochures that he's been looking through, right? Because he wants to find solitude in his life. He's been feeling immature as a Christian, and he's interested in the life monastic.
Just stop and imagine it for a minute. You, Eugene Meltzner, in a monastery.
Oh my God, just go.
It did the
Just
second
go.
trill.
Sanctum verbatim barium. Amen. Amen. Brother monks, it has been a long winter here at the Monastery of the Winds in the Himalayas, but we have endured. By God's grace. But no one has endured better than our novice, Eugene the Reverend. Wait, Eugene. Brother Eugene has faithfully completed his 6-month vow of silence. It was a miracle. It is now time for our brother to break his vow of silence and share with the rest of us what he has experienced. I see that hand, Brother Bernard the Cleansed.
Yes, Friar Whit. The brothers took a vote, and we all think Brother Eugene should continue his vow of silence for another 6 months. It's been the quietest 6 months we've ever had.
Amen. Well, as much as I may agree, this order is not a democracy and votes don't count. We must honor our original commandment to Brother Eugene.
It's a cheerocracy.
And he has fulfilled it. He has earned the right to speak.
Brother Whit, would you agree with another 3 months of silence? Yeah?
No, brother.
1 month.
Yeah? No.
Oh my fucking God. You had a good joke and you just murdered it.
I was surprised that they made me laugh. I wasn't aware Focus on the Family was explicitly Catholic.
They're
They're
not.
not. They're Protestant.
They're evangelical.
What? That makes
But
this even weirder.
Yeah, this writer, Paul McCusker, would later convert to Catholicism. He's
Oh, God. He's an adult convert.
he
Adult
yeah.
convert twice.
Yeah.
He was a Protestant evangelical who became Anglican, who then became Catholic.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he was Methodist originally.
It was so weird that of all of the things they had, like this Protestant show have a character do is go join a monastery. And
Yeah, I have no idea what's going
That's
on
why
here.
I mean, I think that's why this appeals to Paul McCusker as a writer, is because he's on this journey that would eventually lead him towards becoming a Catholic. This was also how I found out that the US had monasteries. I just assumed that those didn't exist in America, because it's reasonable to assume that those don't exist in America.
It's also funny that they, it needs to be a monastery.
Mm-hmm.
Where would a monastery be, or what would it be named after? The Himalayas, because the only thing that Americans really think of when they think of monks is like, it must be Tibetan or some shit.
My school chaplain was actually a Franciscan friar and wore the robes and everything.
Okay.
and gave homilies. He was very cool, Father John. And then he got transferred to Wisconsin, not for the reasons you think, because he actually wanted to move there.
Oh, he just really liked the cheese and the beer.
Yeah, he wanted to be closer to his family and stuff.
He wanted more DUIs.
But yeah, no, it is interesting that that they would go down this path and that would be seen as a good thing because this show demonizes Catholicism in so many other ways,
including in the last episode of what we're covering today. And we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Eugene is just so excited. It's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to go to this monastery. I'm going to get it figured all out. Meanwhile, Whit, who is the God King of Odyssey and has returned fairly recently at this point.
Praise be.
Well, he is also looking to go away, albeit for different reasons. And he talks with his son, Jason, about this.
So, when are you going to have time to make your decision? The board is still waiting for your answer.
Yes, I know. But I just got back to Odyssey. It's hard to seriously consider leaving so soon.
Dad, I'm surprised you're considering it at all. Traveling around the world, playing troubleshooter from mission to mission, it's a lot of hard work, particularly when you consider the time you've already been away.
Jason, are you trying to talk me out of it?
I'm just wondering what you think you'll do.
Well, I wish I could tell you. I want to make it a matter of extensive prayer. I don't dare accept without knowing for certain that it's what God wants me to do.
And just when do you expect to do all this extensive praying?
Well, I'll probably... Is it really 11? Listen, I have to go, Jason. I promised Emma Douglas I'd stop by on my way to the luncheon. I'll see you, Jason.
Yeah. See you, Dad.
Bye-bye, Bernard.
Yeah, Whit, I wanted to talk to you about... Goodbye, Whit.
You see, he can't figure out what God wants him to do because he's too busy. He's running around to luncheons.
Fucking all the old ladies at that luncheon, from what I can understand, showing him some slides.
And Joe, for the record here, Whit works for an encyclopedia company that is a front for the NSA. I'm not joking.
That's true.
Funds Christian missions all over the world.
That does track.
Yeah, so he's mulling over this multi-episode question of, will he leave the country again?
For the NSA Encyclopedia Company.
Yes.
The Encyclopedia Company has a strong vested interest in continuing the mission and spreading the word of Jesus Christ, specifically in the Levant, which also then allows U.S. intelligence to have... The stuff about U.S. intelligence is more implied than it is stated outright, but it is part of the canon.
Yeah, they keep wanting him to go to Jerusalem, but he's like, I don't want to run into any Armenians while I'm there.
I do have a question about this because I am not a tech savvy guy, but Jason has a line here and I just wanted to throw it out to the room if someone could make sense of it.
Yeah, please.
He says, by connecting the main drive to the visual display unit, we're able to integrate the visuals programming with the computer's programming.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
What the fuck is he talking about?
That doesn't mean anything. That's
It sounds
actual
like my
nonsense.
mom telling me her computer's broken.
I was integrating the visuals and, well, now I have 30 toolbars.
It's like when you're watching any Law and Order and they have a case that involves a computer, they all make weird beeping noises and stuff like out of a sci-fi. It's like nobody that works there has an understanding of how a computer works other than Word where they write their scripts.
Right.
I did briefly think you meant the actors were making the beep boop noises. It's like Jesse L. Martin being like, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop.
That's going to happen once they eventually have to cut budget on like season 60 or wherever the fuck that they're at.
Dick Wolf's like, we cannot shut out any more money for the beep boop.
So Eugene does go to the monastery.
Yeah, he goes to Mapleton. They got a new town, Mapleton. And this monastery is called Oak Hills Monastery.
He meets with this really cranky monk who just kind of explains to him what the whole deal is.
Yep.
It also turns out then that this monk knows who Whit is.
Yeah, Brother James.
And that is because Jack Allen is a regular guest at the monastery.
Oh, wow.
Why would a monastery have regular guests? What is going on here?
Joe, I think we know.
This is a monastery in Ohio. They need money wherever they can get it, right? Like they can't just sell beer or whatever else it is that monks do.
He comes on Tuesday and Jerry Sandusky came on Wednesday.
Oh, God.
I'm thinking of joining this monastery.
Really? Well, this would be a wonderful place to stay indefinitely.
Why don't you?
Oh, it's good for temporary escape, but it takes a clear calling to join permanently. Has God called you to come here?
Not exactly.
Ah, you're here because of Katrina.
Mr. Allen, Katrina has nothing to do with, well, almost nothing to... What I'm saying is that while losing Katrina has been difficult, it has helped me to put Christ back at the center of my life, and my desire is to keep him there. I resent the implication that I'm running away from a romantic problem with a beautiful woman.
Eugene, I didn't say you were running away. There's nothing wrong with retreating at times. This monastery is where I escaped to pray when we were dealing with Dr. Blackguard.
What?
The silence and the solitude helped me to understand what to do.
So there was a big saga in Adventures in Odyssey where they dealt with this horrible Dutch-American child psychologist / weapons dealer. And apparently...
This is canon. What? This is canon.
Fucking what?
Dr. Regis Blackguard.
And
yes.
apparently Jack was just off screen between scenes going back and forth to Mapleton.
To be fair, he is not in those episodes for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, he's just gardening for most of it. So
And apparently he's gardening in Mapleton.
Yeah, weaponizing children with a Dutchman.
This is just such a funny thing to bring up. It's like, oh yeah, no, this is just the monastery that I've always gone to. I've always
love
been
it here.
If the cops are asking, I've been here the whole time.
Yeah. But I think it's also... I think this entire exchange is very indicative of this episode's message about being a monk.
Yeah.
Which is, don't do it because it goes against the evangelical project.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you retreat and you dedicate your life to prayer, you can't be out there evangelizing.
What would an evangelical monk even look like? I think it's just like, I don't know, like Jelly Roll. That monk has done more heroin than any monk you've ever heard of.
When I was in high school, we went to a monastery in Germany when I was on my little choir tour there. And our choir accompanist, while we were getting the tour of this monastery from this monk, she asked him if the monks take a vow of silence while he was talking to us. And so he was very German and very diplomatic about it. And he said, well, when we go to sleep, we are silent then. And then in the morning, we wake up and then we are not.
That's so funny.
I've been to a few monasteries. There's a lot of them in Armenia, go figure. And they're the only monks I respect because they don't give a single fuck about anybody that's visiting their monastery. They don't speak to you. Yeah. They don't ask if you want any help or a tour. They're just like give you side eye as they go about their daily business.
Oh, so they're not rolling out the red carpet like the Mapleton Monastery.
Absolutely not. No.
Okay.
Yeah, the Mapleton Monastery, total tourist trap.
Yeah,
basically, it's just attached to a gas station.
Their Airbnb says there's a weird smell coming from under Jack Allen's cabin. Like, I don't know. It's
they have a storied tradition going back to 1971.
Anyway, Eugene continues to live the life monastic and starts getting mad with himself because he can't stop talking to himself.
Well, that's the thing is like Eugene is trying to explore this idea of Christian disciplines, which Paul McCusker is very into at this time because he's trying to find out how to be more Christian. Finds out that apparently that just means becoming Catholic.
Right.
But at this point, he's like, well, fasting and, you know, all these like historical Christian disciplines, silence, solitude. And so Eugene is attempting solitude, hoping he'll find peace. But what he finds instead is that it's quite chaotic. He's always talking to himself. He's always distracted. It's not working out well for him. So he's going through the crucible. And then he comes out the other side with this sort of spiritual moment where he dreams a visitation from his ex-girlfriend.
I have to admit that even while I accused you of being immature, I was also being immature. Things never should have gotten so complicated.
I agree. But it's not a point of blame, Katrina. I realized from the experience that you were right. I truly need more time to grow in my faith. I believe this is a good place in which to do it.
You're so sweet, Eugene. I appreciate you so very much. Your heart, your spirit. I'm only allergic to honey, wheat, dairy, non-dairy, and my own tears. Oh no!
God.
Call my allergist and my optometrist.
Okay, so Joe, do you get who the voice is now?
I still can't place it.
That's Milhouse Van Houten.
Oh my God.
She is the voice of Milhouse from
Pamela
The
Hayden,
Simpsons.
the voice of Milhouse, yeah.
That's not that surprising when you look at like the rest of the people have become voice actors in The Simpsons. They're all kind of weird.
Yeah, Nancy Cartwright is fucking
Well, Nancy Cartwright
crazy.
is, actually Scientologist.
Yeah,
To Pamela
yeah, right.
Hayden's credit, though, she actually left this show in 2005 when they started getting more and more obviously ideological. A lot of actors have not left, but like the character of Katrina got completely recast after that point.
I assume the paydays were good for a voice actor when you weren't, a regular on The Simpsons.
No, they didn't get paid shit. It's
Really?
just, I think voice actors especially, a lot of voice work is really, really thankless and technical. You're reading copy. That's usually how you're making your money. You're doing books on tape. Some people like books on tape, but they can be grueling.
Or you're doing advertisements.
You're doing
Chris, the
advertisements,
narrator,
yeah.
like the host of the show is, it's Chris. She was the voice of Barbie for a really long time.
Yeah. And, sometimes it's just like, get the new air conditioner at Sears.
Right.
Like,
I mean, as someone who talks on a microphone for hours a week for a living, having narrated my own audiobook, audiobooks are fucking awful to work on.
Yeah.
They're really
Yes.
not good. And it's even worse when it's your book.
that's something I always run into if I'm ever doing anything that I wrote. I'm like, I'm the worst writer ever. I'm like doubly committing to the awful shit that I wrote.
Yeah, and I can't imagine doing that without being able to edit the work in real time when it is like solidified. Like that I think would drive me up the wall.
At least she was only in the studio for like 10 minutes that day.
Yeah, like it's really short. Like they would record these episodes for like in like a single morning. And that's part of what makes it fun is like if you're doing The Simpsons, you might not be with the other actors, but if you were doing Adventures in Odyssey, it's like you're doing a little play every single time. And I think that's what appealed to these voice actors the most is like you're just sitting in a room acting with other actors. It's what you signed up for when you got into the business.
Yeah, it's not like Harry Shearer entering into his foam panopticon in his New York apartment with an iPhone.
Yeah, I assume that's like everybody at The Simpsons. None of those motherfuckers are going into a studio anymore. They get paid like $1 million an episode or some shit.
Well, and it's funny watching newer Simpsons too. And, we talk a lot about how Adventures in Odyssey is basically Evangelical Simpsons. It's been running for basically the same amount of time.
Yeah.
It focuses on a small town and all the characters who live in it. And there are a lot of parallels there to the point where I think that in the early days, they were watching The Simpsons, a lot of these guys. I don't think they do anymore, obviously, because not a lot of people do.
Because no one
is,
yeah.
Because no one really is. But watching like newer episodes of The Simpsons, like you can still hear that Dan Castellaneta and Julie Kavner are like invested in the material still. And I think to a certain extent, Yardley Smith is also pretty invested in it. But like Harry Shearer is so checked out that he isn't giving any acting in his lines anymore. And it just makes all the episodes based on his characters kind of a slog to get through.
And Pamela Hayden actually just retired like last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she hung up the Millhouse.
Yeah.
Well, to bring it back to Odyssey, I think something that's so remarkable about it, and I think, Joe, this comes back to sort of what you were saying about at the beginning about just the remarkable production quality, is that generally speaking, these are professional voice actors who actually are giving it their all. Like they are really taking this horrible writing and doing their best to make it sing.
Hey, we've all been there.
True.
Like I said, I've read my own books.
But Eugene, now that he's had this dream, is like, well...
Yeah, this isn't even a good dream. Like, this isn't a dream where he's confronted with anything. Katrina just shows up to him and is like, I'm sorry. It was actually my fault the whole time. What?
And he's like, I forgive you.
Like, and that's the whole idea of like the torment of solitude and Christian disciplines is that you're actually having to face the fact that you're a piece of shit who's never going to be any fucking good, and Jesus is the only way that you're going to get out of hell.
Yeah.
If anything in the dream, Katrina should be like berating him for being horrible. That would actually be interesting.
His mind.
Like that actually could make for potentially interesting drama, you know?
That seems like something that an evangelical is completely incapable of writing.
Yes.
Yes, actually.
Everything has to work out according to this worldview.
And I assume over the larger expanded universe of Odyssey that the women characters are never really taking the lead.
Yeah, not really, no.
No, I mean, Connie kind of comes the closest.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, that is 100% right. My pitch for this whole thing, like the sitcom version of this, is that Eugene, in his solitude, like starts going a little cuckoo, and then various forms of Eugene show up. Like there is monk Eugene shows up and is like, here's Eugene. What your life is going to be like. Yeah. Or like maybe just a French Eugene just because, you know what I mean?
Eugene
and then
becomes French in an alternate timeline.
Yeah. Like he goes to France and
he forgets English. Like he's like
completely.
I am how you say the cigarette.
Yeah, and he keeps miming. He's like, get away from me.
He's miming on a radio drama.
Yeah,
that's a good bit.
You just hear like a penny whistle. But yeah, no, and then Katrina shows up, and then as we've all been saying, berates him.
Yeah,
but this show just lacks the willingness to take the extra step to go into the surreal. Even their dreams have to be completely grounded in reality because it just lacks so much imagination, which is so weird for a show that has a device called the Imagination Station that can only imagine what if we went back in time and hung out with Paul Revere for a bit. Wouldn't that be fucking fun?
I have an idea for this episode that could wrap a lot of this up. Again, I've never written for Adventures in Odyssey. However, that's right. I am also not union because I don't live in the United States, and I am willing to write for you if you pay me a lot of money. That is, he goes to the monastery, right? He meets the monks. The monks are oddly receptive to him.
Right.
He takes his 6-month-long vow of silence. He's welcomed into the brother. He's brought into the inner chamber, and they promptly beat him to death with hammers.
Yeah, it's a monastery from the Thief games.
That's right.
They hit him with a water
They're
arrow.
all Hammerites.
Oh, sorry, you haven't heard of the Holy Brotherhood of the Ball Peen?
Joe, have you played Thief?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think it's too dark, Joe? Do you think the game is too
How do you feel
dark?
about Thief?
Like
it's too dark.
Hard. Yeah. Thank you.
My default whenever I played a Thief game, and actually many other games, is to go to options and turn the brightness up. To the point that nothing is dark anymore, and it still didn't work.
You and AJ have that in common.
Yeah.
So the way they wrap up this B plot of Whit also trying to figure out his purpose is Bernard and Jason give him the brochure to Oak Hills Monastery near Mapleton. That's 2 different trees. And
sounds like Michigan suburb names.
Yeah. You know, it's like, aha, then they're going to meet up. So Whit shows up. Eugene thinks that he's dreaming about Whit, and Whit's like, no, I'm real.
Okay.
And then they talk for a bit.
What are your unresolved feelings?
Only that I would hate to see you go, Mr. Whitaker. My time in Odyssey without you was mostly miserable. I can see now that it was redeemed only by my acceptance of Christ into my heart. But now that I am a Christian, I would love to have time to be mentored by you in the faith. In so many ways, you're my spiritual father. And I'd be at a loss if you took the position the board offered to you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you, Eugene. I really appreciate your honesty. And Lord willing, I would love to be a part of your Christian growth. You know, we could start right here. By praying together.
We've never prayed together, have we?
No. Somehow we just haven't had the time. But it would mean a lot to me if we could. Now.
It would mean a lot to me as well. In fact, it's something I've been dreaming about for a long, long time.
Thanks for getting Josh.
I had to keep that music cue in there. So
I'm coming.
That's right. Joe.
Okay, I have to ask, what is it about Whit that makes him so holy that a guy who's in a monastery is like, no, you're my spiritual mentor? Like,
that is a
be like
great question. I think the answer is just that within the world of this show, Whit is God King. He's the holiest man. And this comes back also to the doctrine
this is like the
of
really lame version of 40K.
Well, it comes back to the doctrine of Christian perfectionism, which is something that James Dobson held to, which is this idea that like the more Christian you are and the longer you're a Christian, the better a person you become.
Yes.
And you basically end up being so holy after a time that the holiness just kind of radiates out of you.
So it's Christian Scientology?
Kind of.
Yes.
Actually.
A little bit,
Yeah, that'll come up later this episode when we talk about John Newton. This is not the resolution of Whit's plotline. It goes on for one more episode that we're not going to listen to, but I'm just going to set it up because there's a character who's introduced in it where Whit is like, okay, it's time to make the decision. And this lady named Joanne from the NSA Encyclopedia Company comes into town and she's like, are you going to do it? And he's like, no. And then it's like, great. And then Jack falls in love with Joanne, and that will be relevant later.
But yeah, what does this tell us, if anything, about this idea of calling or how you meet your calling? Because I don't know. This episode is so fucking
this
weird
episode
to
seems
me.
pretty flatly saying that your calling would never involve going to a monastery. And
yes,
I live in America. I didn't know that was an option.
Right. Yeah.
I grew up Southern Baptist. I was like, yeah, okay, well, then I won't join a monastery. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, my choices were to go work at the Ford factory or join the Hamtramck Monastery and, classic Americana.
Listen, kids, I know you're thinking about experimenting in monastery, and I'm here to tell you, no way, hoes.
None of that monking business.
None of that.
You know, that's what they should have done with the Packard. They should have turned it into a monastery.
But not repaired it. So just monks living in piles of scrap metal with lions around.
Anthony Bourdain going, what is this shit?
I don't know if you've ever heard that story, the time that they found a whole bunch of zoo animals in the Packard factory.
Well, they should be adopted by some family in Ohio.
That's a perfect transition into our next episode.
It is.
Wherein a family does buy a zoo.
They bought a zoo. This is episode 377, Just Say Yes, written and directed by a man named Bill Myers.
Do you know?
Does this guy have any other credits on Adventures in Odyssey?
He writes all the episodes, or well, not quite all, but the only other episodes he writes are about the Mulligan family, who he introduces here. Bill Myers was at Focus on the Family, though. He wrote McGee and Me.
Oh, okay.
And
that
for
makes
you,
sense.
Joe,
This
McGee and
feels
Me
like that.
was a video series that Focus on the Family put out in tandem with the Living Bible.
Is the Living Bible just like the Christian version of the Muslim guys who memorize the entire Quran?
That would be way better. No,
it's a Bible, but with eyes.
The Living Bible.
It is a translation.
It's a modern paraphrase translation. So, like, the idea is just making it even more accessible than something that is simply translated. So they teamed up with the publisher of the Living Bible to make this series about a kid who has a Rube Goldberg pencil sharpener that every 6-year-old Baptist thought was the coolest shit in the world. And he has this little animated friend, sort of like Lizzie McGuire. And the animated friend goes through some little Bible adventures while the kid has these parallel live action adventures that, sort of illustrate the point of that Bible story. It was very expensive. They tried to get it like on TV. ABC actually did air 2 of the videos
with the Bible shit taken out.
Yes. And it ended up just not going much further. They made quite a few videos over the years.
And it's an expensive looking production too. Like they really went for it.
Yeah.
It's very, we talked about it when we did our first live show, right?
Yeah.
Or second live show, the one with Michael.
The first one with Mike Kupperman, yeah. Or I guess our second, because the first one was the pinball one, yeah. Yeah, it was very, I was something I grew up with, like 1 or 2 of the videos. I feel like just about every other kid I knew was more familiar with McGee and Me than they were with Adventures in Odyssey, actually.
It is not a terrible show. Like,
No,
there are
it's
jokes in it,
yeah.
which is shocking, frankly.
And Bill Myers is certainly not the worst writer. Like, if you compare this episode with the previous one, where we just spent half an hour going over about 5 minutes of stuff, they pack so much information into the first 4 minutes of this?
This is so fucking bizarre. Like this episode begins with a blind child, Tom Riley, and a cow? Question mark?
Yeah, a calf that's been terrorized by a mountain lion.
Lisa, honey, get my medical bag, will you?
Oh, I can do that.
It's okay, Mr. Riley. I'll get it.
Oh, no, I don't mind, really.
Mr. Riley, I am not helpless.
Oh, no, of course not.
That's the cow.
That girl may be blind, but there's nothing wrong with her spunk.
Or her hearing.
Or her hearing. So, well, what do you think?
I think... Shh. Listen.
Is that the cougar? Whoa, that's so cool.
So cool, it sends shivers down my spine.
It's not the cougar. It's actually...
It's the pig.
I did imagine it was Courtney Cox just off screen going.
So, Joe, I was noticing as that
Cougar
clip
Town?
was playing, you were doing
Yes.
the Picard facepalm thing.
Like, I've sat in a few writers' rooms in my day, and I've seen a lot of...
They didn't know, but I was there.
Yeah, I was just hiding in the closet. I'm not allowed to go there anymore, or within 200 feet of CBS. But I've seen a lot of dumb shit spitballed, like how did we get here? And listening to this, I would really like to see the show notes. It's like, okay, so how did we land on there's a cougar? And,
no, it's Chekhov's cougar.
Yeah,
it is.
You got to shoot the cougar.
Because it will come back.
Yeah.
A cow. Normal American everyday problems that anyone can relate to. Like my child and my cow are being threatened by the mountain lion again.
There was another blind character before this. Of course, we remember Jenny from the earlier episodes. It's a radio drama. They have a lot of blind listeners because it's like, it's the only radio drama in existence in 1997. So people are going to come across this and they want to actually play something to a sizable part of their demographic.
It's the most regrettable form of like accessibility I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah. It's a real monkey's paw, right? If only there was more entertainment accessible to blind children.
Yeah. But then, podcasting comes along and now there's so many more options for like narrative podcasts, right?
Well, there were.
And that's gone
not so
too.
much.
I'm unfolding a piece of paper and 6 more corporate podcasting companies have gone out of business and or been bought by Amazon.
Yay.
Oh, no.
That's going to be good for them. Amazon does so well.
As a reminder, both lines led by donkeys and the worst of all possible worlds are listener supported. Don't forget to subscribe at our respective Patreons.
That's right. When someone strangles the life out of Wondery, we will not go with it.
Nope. But when Patreon goes tits up, on the other hand,
we're kind of fucked.
You
You got to go to PayPal or something.
This is true. This is a true fact that when a podcast company goes under, they do take it into the basement and beat it with hammers.
Yeah, they go to the Church of the Ballpeen.
Yeah.
It all comes back to hammers, baby. Sanctus hammer.
But let's pull it back to the episode here, right?
Malleum, AJ.
I said let's pull it back to the episode.
Josh is wielding a hammer.
Because at this point, I was a bit confused. We're introducing a lot of information at once. We've got this family called the Mulligans.
Yep.
Yes.
They have a child named Lisa.
The mom is a vet.
And the dad is... Do we actually know what the dad's deal is? Not really, right?
He's a pervert.
Well, the dad's deal is that his dad just died full of regrets.
Right, like a month ago.
And so the Mulligans, because granddad died and like spent 6 months on his deathbed being like, I fucked everything up. I raised the worst son.
That's why they're the Mulligan family.
Loser.
My family sucks. I need to get a new one.
I need a Mulligan on this family.
So they have decided that they're going to say yes to God whenever God tells them to do stuff, which I'm glad you know when he's doing that. And also, they're looking for more veterinarian jobs and thinking about moving closer to town because they're rural.
Right.
But they're maybe not going to do that because they could get a job at the zoo. But oh no, the zoo in Connellsville is actually closing. But then that maybe means that they could fill their farm with the zoo animals, but they won't do that. God's not telling them to do that, right?
Oh, what
All
if
of this
God
is in
told
the
you,
first 4 minutes.
What if God told you to buy a zoo? But the big thing that's going on outside of the zoo situation is that they are taking their nephew in. This guy named Nick.
It is okay. Hold on. It's
Is it more confusing than that? Sorry.
No.
Tracy's mother's cousin's son. They established that.
Sure.
So
why not?
Second cousins. They are second cousins.
This is some Caucasus shit.
They are taking him in. He's come from New York, and when we heard his voice for the first time, I swear to God, I almost did a spit take.
Hi, guys.
What's he like? Is he cute?
Lisa, he's your cousin.
Let me guess. Tall?
What?
Well, tall is a relative term.
And a looker, too, I bet. My friends are gonna be so jealous.
What?
Stop.
Blue eyes?
A little hard to tell under all the hair.
He's from New York, so I know he's like really sophisticated. Probably the intellectual type with a touch of class and...
Hey, what's up, cuz? Good to finally remake your acquaintance.
It's good to see you again, too, Nick.
Say, who's the hot babe with the Coke bottle glasses?
What?
What's happening? Why are these cousins? I mean,
so horny.
I mean, they're distant cousins, but still.
We regret to inform you your cousin is Italian.
I was just sort of like doodling some notes, and I don't know if you guys can see this, but on here I just wrote the oddest shit you can imagine.
Josh, what
this
were you?
makes me
hold on.
feel like I'm having a stroke.
No, hold on. I feel like I'm having a stroke. What did you write your notes on?
Is that bazooka?
It's a pack of bazooka gum.
You know what they say? Those people from New York are very sophisticated.
It's true. We like to doodle on.
So if you
bazooka.
lick Josh's notes, you can put them on your skin and they'll stay
That's
there.
right.
Yeah.
That's what I do whenever I'm in town. Is I just licked all of Josh's things. Don't look into that.
Including me, actually. That was I didn't want you to,
It's
but then I was like,
platonic.
this is actually all right.
I greet you like a labradoodle.
Yeah.
What's a little licking between bros?
That's
you
right.
know?
Yeah. So
lick your bros.
Okay, I gotta go back to
Don't put that in the address bar. Something might pop up.
I gotta go back to this scene for a minute here.
Yes, please.
What's happened? Why are the cousins hot for each other?
Why do they want to fuck?
Yeah.
Immediately.
Why she's like,
show me my
room. She. I mean, obviously she's legally blind. She can't really see him anyway.
Right.
But she also hasn't met him at all yet. She's like, I really hope my fucking cousin is hot as shit.
She's fantasizing about like having a hot cousin.
That she can then give away to her friends.
And then this
is what it sounds like.
greaseball rolls out of the van. And it's like, hey, baby cakes.
Who's the hottie? Show me my room. I want an outfit to my cousin.
Not only is he some like greasy scuzzball, but apparently he also has a time machine because this motherfucker's from like the 50s.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, they mentioned, she's like asking about the color of his eyes. And then Lisa's mom is like, oh, I can't see it under all that hair. But we know for a fact, like in a later scene, that he greases his hair back all the time. So he's
really big eyebrows.
He's like Bogdan on Breaking Bad.
I was gonna say he's actually Greek.
So Nick is simultaneously like two different things that Christians hate.
I think it's fascinating that like he can't even do the accent.
Yeah.
Like that's what pisses me off about it, is that he's kind of like vaguely gesturing towards it, but like this guy's a stereotype. Just make him from fucking New York, you know what I mean? Like what?
Yeah, just do it like
what
that.
What is going on? Yes.
Make him a sort of Cockney Manhattanite. Yeah. So this
I want a bagel, dudes.
Hey, I'm hitting on my cousin here.
So this is played by Chris Castile, who was on this show before. He was the kid Zachary, the kid who was in a wheelchair.
I remember that episode.
So
right.
his voice has changed. Usually when a boy's voice changes on Adventures in Odyssey, they get thrown in the dumpster. In this case,
Right through the no-no
they
door.
actually
Yeah.
kept him around for a little while. This is one of the actual like legit child actors that they had. He was on the Miller Boyett sitcom Step by Step. The little blonde kid with the big glasses.
Shit, I've actually seen that. I grew up with Step by Step.
At this point, my note, now I'll just read verbatim from the notes that I wrote down on my computey.
That's what I call the computer.
That's right. New Big Brother, what the fuck is going on here? Everything from the dialogue to the music feels like a different, even stupider show.
Yeah.
By which I mean Down Gilead Lane.
Yes.
Sort of.
Yes, it feels like Down Gilead Lane. It feels like they're trying to make this a central family like they did with the Barcleys a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't really succeed. They do like 5 episodes with the family, but Nick kind of shows up every now and then. And
they made them too horny.
Yes.
Hey, yo, step cousin, what you doing?
this is too urban for my taste. This is too city folk. to get through the rest of the family and who's playing them, Tracy, the mom, is played by Vaughn Taylor, who played the mom on McGee and Me.
Right.
She is also one of Larry Linville's many wives. No, he didn't have them all at the same time, but yeah, Larry Linville, Frank Burns from MASH, was married to Vaughn Taylor at one point in time. Mike is Bill Myers, the creator of McGee and Me. So that's what's happening there. And Lisa is Bill's daughter, Nicole.
Now, is she blind?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, okay. Because I was thinking maybe it was one of those situations where, like, he wanted to write a blind girl because he had a blind daughter.
No, because he'd probably do a better job of it if that were the case.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I think Bill Myers really just wanted to write an episode about how hot he thought his cousin was when he was a kid.
That sounds right, actually. That I think you are maybe exactly correct.
Hey, Bill, how's the draft of the new Barclays replacement family coming? Oh, yeah, real incestuous, just like you asked.
So Nick is a bit of well, it turns out people don't like him.
Yeah.
He comes on a bit strong for these, good Midwestern folk with his New York incest sensibilities.
Yeah.
And
he's never even eaten at a Cracker Barrel.
No.
Never once.
And we also get some more exposition about, like, Grandpa. And here's what that exposition sounds like.
We prayed about it until we were certain it was what God wanted.
I know.
And we knew it was going to involve some sacrifice.
Because of Grandpa.
That's right. You remember when he was dying? How he kept crying, how he kept saying he wished he'd done more with his life?
I remember.
We made a decision that night. We'd always try to say yes to God. That's what we said, remember? And no matter how strange or unusual his requests were, if we knew something was his will, we said that we'd always try to say yes.
But Nick?
What about him?
I mean, he's so...
Needy?
Well, I was thinking nerdy. Maybe we made a mistake.
Look, all I'm asking is that you don't be so quick to judge him. I mean, give him some time. Look deeper. You just might be surprised at what you see.
What I see? Remember, you're talking to the girl who's legally blind.
I don't think so, kiddo. I'm talking to a girl who's always been able to see with her heart. And deep down inside, your vision is just about perfect.
What?
That's not what anything means.
To be fair to all Christians, there is a passage in the Bible about circumcising your heart. So once you open the door to that...
One of the hardest operations I ever had as a child was open heart surgery to cut the foreskin off of my left ventricle.
And they take it off of the cockles.
Oh, God damn it. It does take some of the sensation out of Alfreding, is what I'll say.
Yeah, but I did want to pull it in here about this moment, because it feels like this is an attempt to anchor the stakes, right? Where it's like, hey, remember Grandpa and how he died and how he was fucking miserable?
Remember Grandpa died like a bitch?
we gotta listen to God. We gotta do what God tells us to do. And
we have to do the plot of Yes Man for the Lord.
Exactly. And this is so strange because, like, what about Grandpa dying would then force them to bring in and put up their horrible, incestuous, like, second cousin once removed or whatever? This is fucking nonsense.
Well, you see, sometimes when Grandpa dies, you simply have to go balls deep with your cousin.
Nick is a troubled child who's too New York. He's too jazz. He's watching too many Broadway musicals and snapping and playing with switchblades.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so he needs help by living with a rural homeschool family, except they don't actually homeschool. However, everything else about them fits the profile of, like, the median Adventures in Odyssey listener, right? They're realizing just how much of their audience is like homesteaders.
Well, and there is sort of some culture war shit going on here too. These people need us to help them. We see this with Nick's whole thing. He immediately becomes incredibly belligerent toward everybody.
He squeezes the toothpaste from the middle. He also tries to pimp his cousin out for the prom.
Yeah.
Literally, like, for money.
Which I gotta say, I was disappointed. I thought he wanted his cousin.
Yeah.
Right.
And the other big thing that he does that I think is an interesting culture war inflection point, because this was written in 1997 rather than, like, the 2010s, is that he's a smoker.
Like, how old is he? Like, the fact everyone's just okay with him smoking. They're not, like, upset That he's a child that's smoking? They're
I don't
upset
know.
at
Yeah.
the act of smoking.
Let's play this clip and we'll try to guess how old he is.
Nick, you haven't been smoking.
Oh, yeah, I lit up when I was out back.
No, that's going to have to stop.
You don't have to worry. Everything they say about passive smoke is just a conspiracy by the lobbyists.
No, I'm not worried about passive smoke. I'm worried about direct smoke. You see, my dad died of lung cancer last month, and, well, we're still a little sensitive.
It's okay. I understand. But this so-called link between smoking and cancer, the way I figure, it's just made up to scare the kiddies away.
We also see that he's going to high school with Lisa. So they're
so he must be like 17,
around the same age.
Yes.
In the next scene, he ends up setting off a smoke alarm, and then he gets kind of yelled at.
Right.
But this is kind of a far cry from the organization that was founded by the guy who told you to hit your kids with spoons.
Listen, last month, my dad died with a cigarette in his mouth, smoking like a chimney, and I can't be around cigarettes anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why did the death have to tie into the smoking thing?
Well, that's what he regrets.
It's his core trauma, yeah.
Mainly regrets the smoking. That was what Grandpa died with.
And also that I never got to see my granddaughter fuck her mother's cousin's son. Those are my two regrets.
Oh, how I wanted to watch it.
Oh, I wanted those taints slapping together. The mouths akimbo.
Why is it always akimbo with you? What are you talking about? Mouths akimbo?
Multiple
I just
mouths.
want you to picture it.
AJ,
multiple
I'm
mouths.
gonna hurt you with a weapon one day.
Was it hammers?
No, I'm gonna hurt you with
choice.
two of them, and they're gonna be akimbo.
Oh no!
This podcast is officially brought to you by the Church of the Ballpeen.
Let's talk a little bit about Lisa's mom, shall we?
She's got it going.
Yeah,
She does.
Yeah, it was Von Taylor. She's a beautiful woman. Larry Linville thought so for a short time.
And the thing that she's got going on is a desire to buy a zoo. We learned that Connellsville, which again is like the larger municipality that Odyssey is on the periphery of, the zoo has. I actually didn't fully understand exposition-wise what exactly
doesn't matter.
happened.
The zoo is going out of zooness.
The zoo's going out of business, and Lisa's mom is like, "Damn, we got to save those animals." That's crazy.
Wild over there. They're repossessing the zoo.
Exactly. And so then this raises a really important question, right? Like, how do you know that something is a mission from God? Like, genuinely, what are they saying about this? And what do we think about this?
I mean, obviously, when it comes to this kind of person, the only time they ever think anything is a mission from God or for God is when it's something they already really want to do. I'm sure a veterinarian is going to buy a zoo because it's God calling and not because she just wants to hoard animals in her backyard.
Right.
But, you know, it's hard now. Nick got here and they're not having a good time. And God's not calling them to give up on Nick, right?
Right. And he did call for them to take Nick in the first place, which is something that they did not want to do. So that's where the episode gets a little confusing. Like, they know it's like for the greater good.
Well, they wanted to because they thought he was going to be hot. So, and then they found out he wasn't hot.
I see.
They're trying to breed their
yes.
daughter.
Oh, no.
You know, Nick, he keeps, getting worse and worse. He smokes inside
more.
and sets off the smoke detector.
Smoking an Anthony Bourdain amount of cigarettes in their living room.
So because he got his head bit off briefly, sort of, then he runs away from the house.
Right.
Well, he's not going to get far. His cardio is going to be ass from all the smoking.
Exactly.
Well, yes. Not only that, then he gets cornered by a mountain lion.
Yeah.
Fuck, I forgot about the mountain lion.
I didn't clip this. It's a long scene, but basically because Lisa is so attuned to animals and she knows so much, she's able to help him scare the cougar away.
She's Adventures in Odyssey Daredevil. She could just confront a cougar.
Yeah. And so now these two siblings have found an understanding. I feel like this would be a signal from God that you should move away from this house because it's surrounded by fucking mountain lions.
At all times.
At the top of the episode, they have already attacked a cow.
Yep.
Now the mountain lions have escalated to menacing humans. That's a bad sign.
So we're gonna get all these herbivores from the Connellsville Zoo and pen them up on our farm where the mountain lions are. Yeah, you're just like feeding ostriches to mountain lions.
You're there to rescue. You're a buffet.
It's like in the middle of the night. Mom, Dad, do you hear "Be Prepared" being sung outside? I think there's a gay mountain lion who's like rounding up hyenas to kill us.
Like, it's funny in a way, but like when you actually think about the writing, yes, this is fucking crazy, right? And not just in a they haven't thought this through way, they haven't, but also that if you were to think about what does it mean to, like, I don't know, follow God's will or whatever, there are so many clear practical indicators that this is not the thing to do.
Right.
That it undermines the entire point of the episode.
What is the fucking point of the you have all this mashup with like the cousin coming to town, and then there's the fucking zoo there. It's like two completely different storylines duct taped together.
Joe, I will give you the point of the episode because Chris tells us at the very end.
It seems like we've been talking a lot about God's will lately. But that's because following God's direction is one of the most important things we have to do as Christians. It's one of the marks of being a disciple of Jesus. Do you remember what he said in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 14, verse 27?
Yes.
Whoever does not take up the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. That's something the Mulligan family is trying to do as they reach out to those in need. You see, saying yes to God means obeying him, no matter what the cost or the sacrifice. That's what Jesus did, and that's what we should all do too. Adventures in Odyssey is a presentation of Focus on the Family.
Have you considered that the mountain lion was commanded by God to eat your cousin?
Yeah. What this ends up being is that they also adopt a bunch of kids too. Sort of cross-cultural adoption specifically. So we'll get back to the Mulligans later. But I also feel like they're doing all this because it's in a way sort of a backdoor pilot. I think that at the very least, the writer Bill Myers was trying to set up the Mulligans to be a significant recurring factor on this show, the way that the Barkleys were many years earlier. And it doesn't quite happen that way. But we do get like 5 or 6 episodes with the whole family.
How depressing is it to be the person pitching a pilot to focus on the family?
Yeah, you have to be in pretty dire straits. Although in the 90s, I don't know, man. They had a lot of money and a lot of influence.
That's
and
actually
if you were in
the
the
thing.
Christian sphere, it was kind of like being called up. Like this was your turn at bat, really.
Well, and that's an interesting point because Focus on the Family was branching far out beyond Odyssey. There was McGee and Me, but there was also something else. And we'll actually talk about that something else when we come back from our break.
Hello, potential buyers of product. Brother Estragonov here, acting representative of Oak Hills Monastery and Rental Center, and now introducing for very first time Oak Hills Winery. Yes, we have bottled the very finest grapes the great state of Ohio has to offer, and smooshed them together with our teeny little toes to be making a fermented drink from its juices. Foot juice. Now, many of you might be thinking, hold this phone. I have heard name Estragonov before. Did you not once run Estragonov escape rooms? Is astute ear you have, friend, and a good eye for escape room experiences, but this day is long behind me. I now live in Monastery. I make wine with feet, and certainly do not currently live with 300-pound black bear I have cleverly disguised as monk. Phoebear, I swear to... Please hold, potential customer. This was sneeze I did just now. Big sneeze.
Phoebear, you have ruined take. I know you were playing with ball. This whole problem.
You playing with ball. I don't care if you want to play with ball. We agreed this my time to film commercial. Oh, so now it's my fault. I am trying to make a living so that both of us can survive. Do you know how hard it was sneaking a bear into the United States? No one is saying you did not pull off trench coat and false mustache, Phoebear. Nobody argues with this. But if anybody were to catch you, they would take you back to Russia and turn you into fashionable rug. Is this what you wish? To be a fashionable rug? Eternally screaming like all those people you ate back in Russia? Is this what you wish, eh? It is probably Brother James again. Hide in compartment, Phoebear. Go! Be good bear. For once. Short. I come. Who is there?
Yeah, hi. Sorry? I'm looking for an Estragonov.
Who, may I ask, is calling?
My name is Melvin. Melvin Mulligan. I'm here to talk about your business.
It is customer. Welcome, living, arm-waving tube man, to my humble abode. Pleased to be pulling up a chair. Thanks. Now, you try wine. If you like, you buy bottle. If you do not like, you leave. Right. So, I must have gotten the wrong address. I'm looking for Estragonov, operator of Estragonov escape rooms. Former operator. Now, I make wines. You drink. Oh, right. Cheers to you. Oh, Christ! Old family recipe. The secret is dash of formaldehyde. You trying to poison me? No, of course not. I promise you, your life is in no danger here. Phoebear, now look what you did. I told you that was not a load-bearing wall. Is that a feckin' bear? Yes, and apparently one who is very bad at listening. You put the bear in load-bearing wall? This is no time for jokes, Phoebear. I don't have a wall now. I'm looking for my sister. Mary Mulligan. I got a tip you might know something about her. I have her picture here. See? She disappeared. No, she was taken a few years back now by the fellas who bought your company, Patmos Industries. And I've been looking for her for so long, I've almost forgotten what it feels like to have hope. I'm in Ohio, for Christ's sake. Staying with family over in Odyssey. My cousin's sister, twice removed, I think. Ghastly people. Got a petting zoo filled with mountain lions or cougars. I can't really tell them apart. And, I just really need this to work. Nothing in my life has ever worked, and I just need this one thing. So I don't care that you've got poison wine or are hiding a bear in a top hat. By the way, love the top hat, great crack. I just need some sort of sign that I'm not completely mad. Please? Tell me I'm not mad. You are not mad. But I have also never seen her before. I am so sorry. Phoebear has also not seen her before. Figures. Well, thank you for your time. If you're thinking about continuing with the wine business, I would strongly urge you to reconsider. Well, first of all, rude. Second of all, you are certain Patmos has her? Yeah, pretty sure, yeah. Hold my foot juice.
Oh,
Phoebear, activate computer terminal.
Holy shit! You have a bat cave?
There are no bats in here, only bear. Despite being told she is not allowed.
What is all this?
I put a failsafe in every Estragonov unit, a back door, as they say. In case somebody gets stuck, I can give clues. Should still be in design. So, aha, here we are.
Look at that. There's so many of them.
All over country. Many in this North Carolina. Let us see if we can see inside.
Who are all these people?
Well, let's see. We have a detective of some kind.
This is bigger than I thought. This is bigger than just marrying me.
This one just appears to be a nerd.
It's got to be hundreds. No, maybe thousands of people.
Ugh, it is like finding needle in haystack.
Wait. Go back one. Go back. Oh, that's her. Oh, that's her. That's Mary. I knew it. I knew she was alive. Oh, Phoebear, I could frickin' kiss ya.
But wait. What is this? On her back, do you see?
Oh, that looks like... But it can't be. That... Are those... wings?
So we're back. As I said before, the break and whatever AJ has decided to do for the last 10 to 15 minutes of this episode. Focus on the Family branched out into other things. They were especially trying to pivot to video because they knew, radio is always going to have this limit. You either hear it or you don't. You can buy the tapes, but only if you go to Christian bookstores. So what else can we do? So Focus made a series called The Last Chance Detectives. It was all shot out in Eastern Arizona for a shit ton of money.
I've been in the plane.
That's right. You've been in the plane at the Focus on the Family headquarters. And they made 3 videos over the course of like 2 years, each one about an hour long. At some point, it would be kind of fun to cover maybe for a live episode or something because it's visual.
So they're doing almost feature length films. Almost.
Yes, almost. I don't think they ever quite did a full feature.
No, because as Big Idea, the creators of VeggieTales can attest, committing to a feature length it completely changes the scope of what it is that you're doing as an organization. In Big Idea's case, it basically bankrupted them and forced them to seek an exit.
Jonah got delayed by years. So one of the writers for Last Chance Detectives was a guy named Doug McIntosh. Doug McIntosh also has worked in Hollywood, like doing real shit.
I prefer Doug Windows.
Boo.
I prefer Doug Granny Smith.
Wow.
So Doug wrote an episode of Miami Vice. He also wrote an installment of Amazing Stories, which we talked about very recently when we talked about
It's the Pig.
The Dig. And then he wrote the second Last Chance Detectives, the Bigfoot one. Wrote the Bigfoot one. Josh, did you watch Last Chance Detectives as a kid?
Only the one with the scary native man who lives in the haunted house.
Okay, he's not scary. He's a code talker, Josh. Come on.
Yeah, no, I know he's not scary.
Nice.
The whole point is that he's not scary and that he's nice.
Which is super weird because the first McGee and Me episode is also about a scary Native American guy who's not actually scary at the end. What were they smoking over there? No, well, Doug McIntosh didn't write Mystery Lights on Navajo Mesa, but Doug McIntosh only wrote the second one, which was the Bigfoot one, which I don't remember the Bigfoot one.
Does that mean Bigfoot's canonical to Christianity now?
Yes. According to this and also the Frank Peretti book Monster, Bigfoot is very important to the Christian faith. Okay. AJ, do you want to read another Frank Peretti book?
I mean, no, but I'll do it. Here's the thing, but doesn't Bigfoot go against the whole evolution isn't real thing?
No, not if God created
cryptids, I think, are absolutely perfect examples of disproving evolution because they just sort of happen. They don't even have to be maintained by an ecosystem. But
he's a missing link.
No, Bigfoot is not a missing link.
No,
he is just
a disciple.
That's also one of the things that floats around. Bigfoot is just a cryptid. Bigfoot can be a missing link in some ways that people explore that story, but sometimes it's just a big guy that kind of looks like a person, but it's not.
Bigfoot is fearfully and wonderfully made, AJ. I don't think you understand this.
It's like the ugliest sound I've ever made.
Bigfoot, coincidentally, is what I type into my browser before I Alfred. So,
wow.
Boy. Oh,
wow.
no.
Only one
Jeez.
foot. Two, not interested.
no. Two's right out.
So this episode is Amazing Grace. It is episode number 384. It came out in December of 1997, and it is about, well, the concept of grace, but more specifically, it's about a man named John Newton.
Yeah.
And the episode starts with this kid named Cody coming into its end.
Hi, Mr. Whitaker.
Oh, hello, Cody.
You look real busy.
Oh, not as busy as you look. What are you doing with all those books?
They're for a school report.
Oh, must be a big assignment. What's it about?
A famous person, but I don't know any famous people.
Oh,
I'm thinking I might do it on a famous musician.
yeah, that sounds good. Which musician did you have in mind?
Beats me. But I have to hurry up and decide.
Oh, why?
Because the report was due today.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I kept putting it off, and then I got sick, and... You know what's funny?
What?
I thought my teacher was going to really get after me. But when I told her, she just gave me, the look. And then she said I could have a little more time. I was shocked.
Well, it sounds as though you experienced a little grace.
No, it was Mrs. Hawkins.
No, I mean, you received grace. It means undeserved mercy. You'd done something wrong, but you received pardon instead of the punishment you deserved.
Oh!
She should have beaten you, kid.
Did he do something wrong, or was he sick? It sounds like...
Yeah, we just jump right over the whole sick thing.
Oh, you fucked up by not doing a whole assignment while you were in the hospital, you dumb bitch.
Yeah, Joe, I want your gut reaction to this, because for me, I was like, what the fuck?
For a few things, it's like, I want to write a paper about a famous person, but I don't know any famous people. But I was thinking about writing about a musician, but I don't know any. It's like, what is your teacher doing? I definitely thought it was going to go to, of course you know a famous person. Write the paper about Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
They don't want that in the schools, though.
Right.
You can't write about Jesus in the schools
You'll
anymore.
be canceled, Billy. Which is why I cannot go near the school anymore.
Because of damn cancel culture.
Now, Cody, there's a lot of people who are talking about this thing that, well, it's called cancel culture.
You kiss your cousin one time, Cody. Just once.
You get on one chat room with one sprightly young woman. Next thing you know, a newscaster named Chris is meeting you in your living room.
Cody, there are some grown-ups who don't want me hanging out on Yahoo Chat.
I did enjoy the fact that, you got some grace rather than the punishment you deserve.
I don't know. I've been in my own life thinking a lot lately about the way that this shit shaped me, and my own personal relationship with punishment and just the way that I do or don't do things out of fear of punishment, or I just assume that when a bad thing happens to me, it is a punishment.
Yeah.
Right. And that you deserve it.
Then that I deserve it. It's in a way very Catholic, but like this specific form of it is very evangelical. And Brian, we've talked a fair bit about like the difference between Protestant guilt and Catholic guilt.
Mm-hmm.
And this bit right here, I think, is maybe the key to all of it, where something very boring and normal and prosaic happens in your life. And it's supposed to be an example of like, well, this is just the order of things, and you've been granted grace because punishment should have been meted out to you by the authority figure in your life.
It's so fucked. And I think it's also so rich because this child, Cody, is played by Landon Arnold, who is Dave Arnold's son.
Okay.
Who, well, you can read some books by Landon's sister, Amber Contorna, and learn a little bit about how things operated in that household, right?
The last piece that I just wanted to say is, for me personally, as somebody with a history of medical shit, it really hits different to be like, oh, you had this medical thing, but you still deserve the punishment.
Yeah. Was this something you experienced a lot in school as a kid, Josh?
I never had real difficulty with like getting extensions on assignments or anything like that. But just the whole framing of bow down before the one you serve, you're going to get what you deserve.
And the way that like sickness is always so like minimized too. It's just not an excuse unless you are in the hospital.
Yes, absolutely. That is absolutely true. And actually, now that I think about it, that is something that I did deal with quite a bit. And I do think that one of the big sort of changes we've seen in American culture is sort of in the post-pandemic environment or whatever. It has become a bit more acceptable to be like, no, I can't. I'm sick.
Not as much as I thought it was going to be, unfortunately.
No, we breezed right on by that, didn't we?
Yeah.
We sure did.
Yeah, it's also really hard. As somebody who does have long COVID, it's really hard sometimes to have people think that, I've had friends of mine who think I'm faking.
Yeah, because it's not visible.
Because it's hard to explain. Because I can be fine one day and then be absolutely fucking demolished the next day. And, for all intents and purposes, I look and sound exactly the same. It's just that my bones are on fire and I can't get to the bathroom.
It's similar to living with like a mental health condition where it's just like, well, you seem fine. Like, I bet I fucking do.
When my depression got so bad that I like didn't get out of bed for a whole month in college, I finally went to the Calvin College Bruni Counseling Center.
Yeah, I went there too. And big fucking mistake.
First session, I was like going through and talking about, not leaving bed for a month and things like that. And was told, well, you seem fine. You sound fine.
Joe, did your experience of this stuff run up against? I have to imagine it ran up against this like Protestant work ethic shit, right? Especially in the military, right?
Oh, the military for sure. Where if you say you're sick, or I mean, let's just cut mental health out of the equation entirely because that didn't exist. But like if you said you were sick, there had to be proof. That proof could only come from a doctor and like a written note. Otherwise, you were absolutely lying, trying to get out of work.
Right.
Which, not to hand it to the military, but the military sucks so bad that we would lie and say we're sick to get out of work because it was the only way we'd get a day off.
Well, maybe the real answer to all of this is getting press ganged, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
See, because we're talking about a fella named John Newton right now.
Mary, won't you take my arm as we walk?
Yes, thank you, John.
I cannot tell you how often I've dreamed of us walking down a quiet London street together of a Sunday evening.
After all your adventures on the high seas, after seeing all those exotic Mediterranean ports.
It wasn't London or English life that I dreamed of, Mary. It was you.
You mustn't say such things.
Mary, you know I care for you. I have since we were scarcely more than children. I think you care for me as well. I've always hoped that we might have a future together.
As have I. But there remains a barrier between us. The Bible says, "Be ye not unequally yoked with an unbeliever." I could never marry any man who was not a Christian.
Oh, that again.
Yeah, we have this whole thing. Mary wants John Newton to become a Christian. John Newton, his eyes are on the sea.
It's true.
He wishes to be aboard his boats. He is a merchant sailor like his father before him.
He goes to the Scum Bar from Monkey Island, I guess.
At that time, church was the last place that John Newton wanted to be.
Bring your tankard, you lazy sea dog.
Lassie, bring us another round double time.
The horses you want? Yes, a minute.
It's so funny.
That's the worst
They
accent.
get Walker Edmiston to do the Scottish accent here because I guess they didn't have Alan Young, who was Scottish, to come in here and play a Scotsman. So the texture is really nice. The dialogue is bad and the accents are bad, but it kind of feels like I'm on Pirates of the Caribbean right now.
Yeah. It's very fun in a way that I think they weren't aiming for.
Yeah.
I think they were trying to build like this authentic soundscape of like, oh, what would it be like?
Yeah, what would an 18th century British tavern be like? Yeah, so John is in here. He's drinking and wenching.
Look out, folks. There's wenches afoot.
Yeah, you can tell they actually reused this script and fluff it a little bit to do a full radio theater production. They do kind of a three-parter about him, about William Wilberforce, and then one about Oluda Equiano. And I haven't listened to that one. I just know that that's what they did here. And it's a good mix of actual British people, and I think that's Katie Lee as the wench.
That's gotta
doing
be
her
Katie
like
Lee, right?
Cockney accent.
Love to play
So
the
funny.
wench on a family Christian show.
That's right.
So they do walk like right up to the edge. They talk about like how much they're drinking, but of course, drinking here, because this is an evangelical show, drinking is sinful. So they can depict it that way because we know John Newton's going to stop drinking once he goes Christian.
Right.
So everything's going well at the bar until it isn't, and the press gang shows up.
Oh no! I'll just do this when I want.
I think that's Chris, actually.
I don't understand. Don't let those men get away. Look out! Seize this young one here.
No, wait! I can't! No, not me! I'm a seaman on a merchant ship! Be quiet!
That's Garrett there with his blackjack.
You can't do this. I'm a Hammerite. I'm from the Church of the Ball Peen. Be quiet.
Just to paint a picture of what I think is happening here. They're just having a good time, and then all of a sudden, these dudes from the Royal Navy jump through the window.
Yeah, they're like a SWAT team.
Yeah, they've all the discipline of a local police department.
I know you've talked about press gangs and stuff like that on your show many a time. I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on this portrayal of the British press gang.
I think normally is less dynamic than this.
No screaming wenches.
Yeah, most of the time it was like people getting too drunk and waking up on a ship they've been literally kidnapped onto, or ships being taken at sea and then the crew being taken aboard and like, congratulations, you're in the Royal Navy now. Not shut up.
Yeah, I feel like 18th century England, you're just looking for a guy who's passed out on the street, because that's 90% of all men who live in 18th century England.
Also, most people who live in London now on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Yes.
At 7 p.m.
Yeah, that's right.
Whit also makes a distinction in here that I think is interesting, which is he says that it's like the draft, like the American draft, except that the draft lets you say goodbye to your families.
Right.
Which is sort of, I don't know, it feels like it's hedging its bets a little bit and is like, look, we all agree the draft was bad, but it could have been worse.
We didn't kick open your door and kidnap your son.
We've talked a lot about this show's relationship to the Vietnam War, where it kind of wants to have it both ways, right? Where everybody who served in Vietnam is a war hero, but also they shouldn't have been forced into conscription, but also them being forced into conscription was inherently valorous, right? It's very strange.
It's like, because opposition to the war was the greatest morally corrosive force in our lifetimes, in the lifetimes of these writers.
Because then you were hippies.
Yeah, because then you were hippies.
No,
This gave birth to the hippies. So it's like, it's more sort of a strategic critique. Right? Well, if we hadn't drafted people, there wouldn't have been as much opposition, and then we wouldn't have created hippies.
That's kind of similar to like the modern like liberal interpretation of that entire era as well, where like, the war was bad, but also the hippies were equally bad somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
So, I mean, it's interesting because we've kind of burned through all of our Vietnam War episodes. Otherwise, I would have thrown them in here, Joe, because they are a riot. And you know, Whit's son Jerry signed up and died in the war, and that has informed everything. That informs every part of Whit's worldview, right? The aspect of Jerry's death, and that is explicit. That comes up in one of the earliest episodes of the show.
I really wish the Viet Cong would have got him too.
Yeah.
It's actually one of the things where when the show is interested in playing with the character of Whit and like finding motivation, the anger that he feels toward everybody as a result of Jerry's death is one of the things that makes Whit very interesting as a character. Unfortunately, they very rarely explore it in any meaningful depth and instead just use it as a cudgel, which is to say those damn hippies, kind of like what you were saying.
Right. I think there's also something interesting here about our boy Newton and his inability to accept Christ into his heart.
Yeah.
Because it also falls back on another cliche that they do a lot on Adventures in Odyssey, which is that he's heard of Christianity.
Yes.
Right.
But like his mom died and was Christian. So like he doesn't really like fuck with that anymore. But it's not like he's never just like vehemently opposed to it. Right. No one can be, because it's just that they haven't heard about it yet.
Right. But what's interesting about this is it's kind of true. Like the John Newton story is kind of the ideal evangelical conversion story, because his mom
and that
his mom was a nonconformist. He was not a Christian. He couldn't get married to Mary until he was a Christian. And as we'll get further into this, we'll sort of see more of the elements of that narrative, especially the narrative as he wrote it, because we go mostly off of his autobiography.
Right. Which is,
and that
makes it difficult too, because this is very clearly going to be an unreliable narrator, right? John Newton himself. And I sort of I tried to do some reading into this, but it seems that there are no real reliable accounts of what actually happened to this
when
guy.
you're talking about slavery, it's hard to find reliable accounts of anything. This criticism comes up regarding Uluda Equiano as well, where it's like, okay, well, what are the other sources? There aren't any. It's slavery. There's not a lot of writing going on.
Well, if slavery was so bad, why didn't slaves simply write about it? I don't understand.
And we'll get to John Newton's late pamphlets as we talk about him a little bit more, because I don't want to jump the gun too much. But yes, John Newton, after being press ganged, he's in the Navy for a while. He gets traded over to the private sector. He gets traded over to a slave ship.
You think they got a couple draft picks for that, or were his intangibles good?
Oh no, my fantasy slave trade.
Brought to you by Peter Thiel.
John Newton then ends up getting indentured himself and put on a Western African plantation. What this episode doesn't go into is that this plantation was owned by an African woman. He was not actually at this point. He ends up being a slave on two different plantations. So he gets traded over to another plantation that's owned by a white guy. While he was enslaved, and this was, I think, 2 years or something like that, he was able to get a couple of letters smuggled out to his father. And his father hired a guy to go find him.
Another slave trader, yeah.
You think they could stop an evil slave trader as a good slave trader to rescue my son?
But there is something that I wanted to point up here about the way that they narrate this story. Newton had already been an active slave trader for some time. But because he ended up being an asshole and they were like, okay, we're indenturing you to this fucking plantation in West Africa, he was then himself under the whip for a while, I guess.
Yeah, he was a deeply unlikable person, and the crews of every ship that he was on hated him.
Imagine being such a piece of shit as a slave owner and a slave trader. The other slave owners and slave traders man, you fucking suck.
Can we get John Newton out of the group chat? He's really bringing the vibe down.
Group chat.
And it's hard to know, again, how much of this is true. The way that this episode narrates it, it's well, he wasn't that bad of a guy before, but then what happened was after he was enslaved, he gave himself over to the inherent cruelty.
Wait a minute, Mr. Whitaker. Huh? How could he do those things to other people, especially after he was a slave and got whipped?
Well, Cody, that's how some people react to hardship. Even though they've been subjected to cruelty and hated it, they also become cruel.
I see no reason to believe that this is true, specifically with regard to John Newton. But I think the reason they put it in here is that they need him to be redeemable.
Right. And the show does depict that he was on a slaving vessel. He did join a human trafficking operation in a trade from the Navy. And then, as it doesn't depict, he was sort of lured onto the shore by a sort of pitch about the glamour of joining the slave trade from the side of I suppose, the auctioneer. And then he was indentured. But he had already been seduced by the slave trade before enduring that hardship. This is a society where slavery is normalized, right?
Right.
John Newton wasn't working on slave ships before, and I think probably culturally, even in the place where he was, that would have been seen as an escalation. But he was working on transporting sugar from the Gulf to England. So he was working in an industry that profited off of slavery.
Yeah, of course. He was part of the triangle slave trade.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's a step removed, right? That's what makes something like slavery, what makes institutional problems so workable socially, is you only have to have a certain number of people who are willing to be the ugliest bastards on earth. And then if you're comfortable enough, you can just ignore it. Yeah. You can just be like, oh, cool. I have my sugars and my chocolates and my cookies and everything.
I have my treats. Everything is fine.
I've got my treats.
It.
I just went to the store. No one at that store is a slave. So Newton's a step between the store and the slaves, but he could at least have a little bit of supposed dignity, just as any English person could supposedly preserve their dignity by supporting
he's going
this.
Places and dealing with, like, especially the sugar industry. Like, he's seeing the miseries of slavery up close and personal.
So this is normal. And when you're in a situation, I think we see this where people talk about, like, how could people who have been the victims of genocide perpetrate a genocide themselves? Well, they've seen it. Yeah. And it creates a perspective of this could happen again to us. So anyone who could be seen as adversarial to us is the next potential carrier of genocide.
Well, thankfully that doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
That's been solved.
And that is sort of what this whole argument is, right? It's that if you are cruel to someone, they will become cruel and enact that cruelty upon you, which is a very conservative way to view the world. It is also The Last of Us. We talked about that a lot in The Last of Us.
And it's also like a pretty thorough part of, like, conservative powers, governments that enact genocides. Along the way, a lot of them come to the realization is like, well, we can't stop now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to come back for revenge. And it's also important to remember that every genocide perpetrator sees what they're doing as an act of self-defense.
Right.
Every single one.
There's a high degree of neuroticism among the perpetrators of genocide, that at any point the dam could burst.
Damn, who would have thought? And here I thought that they're all completely normal. Man, some of our faves are becoming sus, you know what I mean?
It's hard for me because, like, this is not the way that I would say the majority of people think about the world. Yeah. The people who have the cruelty done to them historically have not then turned around and done that cruelty to others, right?
Rwanda and Israel cannot be reached for comment.
No, but what I mean is, like, they aren't leading that rebellion against the Germans, right? The cruelty that was done to them, they're not doing back to the Germans. They're doing it on someone weaker than them.
When you're talking about that anxiety that, like, Southern slave owners had, that, like, if we ever stop this institution, the peculiar institution, we will be killed by the slaves.
Regrettably, that is not what happened.
You know, they think that it would happen because they know in their hearts that it should.
Yes.
And that's what drives it even further.
And that they'll deserve it.
And for Newton himself, his way out was about cutting a deal to get on another merchant ship and to keep this going. So for him, it just becomes normalized enough and is like, well, this is a zero-sum world where someone's got to be enslaved. And it's not going to be me.
Pick himself up by his bootstraps and get promoted. I'm not a slave anymore. I'm a slave trader.
Another interesting piece of what this episode does rhetorically is that although it shows the cruelty that Newton was subjected to an extent, it also shows a little bit of Newton being the one doing the punishment, but it does not show the impact of the things that Newton was doing to his victims. And I think that's interesting.
There are no black characters in the story.
They definitely got to leave that part out.
Yeah, because it doesn't make a clean narrative.
Because the story here is Newton's soul more than anything else.
Well, and if you have a character, like if you're trying to paint a sympathetic picture and you show them committing grievous bodily harm to slaves, there's nothing you can do to bring that full circle to make them redeemable.
Right.
Yeah. And I should point out, rightfully so.
Yes.
So Newton's conversion story, he takes the helm and the ship runs into a massive storm. John Newton says, if you don't sink this boat, God, I'll be a Christian. Fuck it. So they also reference the fact that John Newton is on the boat reading The Imitation of Christ, which is this medieval devotional.
They do a "you're one of those," huh, Tim?
This is again part of his actual biography. What's interesting about The Imitation of Christ is that it talks a lot about the virtue of solitude, as we were talking about earlier. The ship survives the storm. John Newton converts to Christianity. Mary is very happy to learn that. And then he stays in the slave trade.
So John Newton gave up selling slaves and they lived happily ever after, right?
Wrong. John was a new Christian and didn't fully understand how wrong slavery was. He made 3 more voyages as a slave trader.
I can't believe that.
Well, in later years, neither could he.
Yeah.
But Newton had a lot to learn about the Bible, the ways of God, and the value of every individual life, no matter what the skin color. The Lord worked on his conscience, and he finally quit. He took a job as the tide surveyor in the port city of Liverpool, and that enabled him and Mary Catlett to marry.
So when did he write about grace and become famous?
Okay, I'm getting to that.
Whit is saying, he was a young Christian, so he didn't know enough yet. He didn't develop enough, so he did a few more adventures. This was 4 years.
Right.
4 years of continuing on these ships.
His God power level was simply too low. He would hardly be the first Christian to rationalize the slave trade with religion. There was a lot of people who were against the slave trade using the Bible as an example as to why it is morally and ethically and canonically wrong. But there was way more people that said otherwise and had the exact same explanation just from the other side. This is a wonderful rewriting of history.
Yeah, and the abolitionists in England were evangelicals. They were the early evangelical Anglicans, like William Wilberforce. And when Newton converted, he joined the evangelical Christian movement. This is a big dub for a specific branch of Christianity, which also housed so many of the American abolitionists as well as the westward expansion continued. There were Southern Baptists and everything like that too, but a lot of the evangelical movement was animated against slavery as this great moral unchristian thing. Another thing this glosses over is that Newton didn't quit working on those boats because he was opposed to the institution.
He got married.
Before that, he was having seizures. His health kept him from being able to go on these ships all the time. So when he was working as a clerk, it was for the slave trade still.
Yeah, he was in Liverpool. That's like the headquarters of the British slave trade. That's the only reason why anyone would fucking stay in Liverpool during this era, is being involved in the slave trade or shipwrighting. He was almost certainly still connected to the slave trade. He obviously didn't find it morally reprehensible, though, of course, because Jesus' power level was simply too low.
Right.
And he would hardly be the only person that did this.
Yeah.
But
most of these people were Christians. It's England.
They're not fucking John Brown.
No, they're absolutely fucking not. And so this episode ends with John Newton leaving his clerkship, joining the church, and eventually then writing the song Amazing Grace, which all of us have heard.
'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. The Lord has promised
That's
good to me.
great. I get to do my report about a musician after all. Then what happened to John Newton?
Well, later he was called to pastor a well-known church in London. His story influenced a lot of powerful Christian politicians, such as William Wilberforce, who eventually helped to pass the laws that eliminated the international slave trade.
So Mr. Newton helped to end slavery?
Very much so.
Wow.
It took over 30 years of hard work, but Newton's influence helped to make it happen. He died in 1807 at the age of 82, having preached the gospel of Jesus Christ for almost 6 decades. Not only did he impact his generation, but generations to come with a hymn that has strengthened and comforted millions of people.
This is a great story for my report.
Oh, I thought it might be.
Thanks, Mr. Whitaker. Now all I need to do is write it down.
No, get the fuck out of my store.
That's a good idea, Cody. Amazing Grace.
Okay. Saying that John Newton helped stop the slave trade is like saying that the Pope stopped the Cuban Missile Crisis. What the fuck are you
he
talking
played a
about?
part. He did, because we know all these facts about Newton's life as a former slave trader, because he had been a rector for a number of years. He damn near killed her. And
gets me every time.
It was late in life that he wrote, this is the age of pamphleteering, right? We get like Common Sense and that kind of stuff.
Ye old zines.
Oludo Equiano wrote the narrative of his life, which was a big publication at the time that then kind of faded into obscurity until the 1960s, I think. And Newton himself wrote about his life and was like, yeah, you may know me as the guy who damn near killed her, who wrote this cool song. Also, here's all the fucked up shit I was up to.
Okay.
Right. Here's all the reprehensible business that
the British
did.
anti-slavery movement didn't count for the colonies, so they didn't outlaw slavery.
Right.
Yeah.
They offshored it.
They just removed their own direct responsibility. Again, just giving another step of removal.
I think the Hollywood take would be inspired by real life.
Yeah.
Not based on a true story, inspired. But I mean, this is hardly new, right? Like, whenever you consume right-wing or conservative, and in America, conservative could only mean Christian conservative, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
Whenever you consume their media, when it pertains to history, you always see stuff like this.
Yeah.
Like, a good example goes into just how many prominent, quote unquote, famous Americans from history were actually like deeply fucked up people who owned slaves. And then we try to champion anything else about them by saying like, and then simply don't talk. Like, a good example is like Jim Bowie. Like, famously, guy with a Bowie knife died at the Alamo, right? A key part in Texan history, and has a really good history standing up for Native American rights. He was like against the what was known as the Indian Removal Act and against President Jackson.
Sure.
He was also a fucking slave owner.
And with Newton, it always becomes the redemptive story.
Right.
His impact in writing a very popular pamphlet, or a couple of very popular pamphlets.
And a deeply beautiful hymn.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. I mean, an incredible hymn.
Yeah. Spits
bangers.
Like,
for sure.
That is an ageless tune right there. We want this story to be happy. He's in heaven now. He's been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. However, the impact that he has of generationally, of transporting people across the Atlantic to be enslaved.
Thousands of people, I assume.
Right.
And this is the problem too with like any figure in history, but particularly figures in history who were involved with atrocities. You cannot make them essentially good, right? There is always going to be a piece of them that is essentially evil.
Yes.
I believe that to be true. And that's fine. Like that, but that's also just, you have to account for that rather than trying to be like, well, he did some bad things, but he did some good things too.
Yeah, don't literally church it up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
The narrative war to control these things is such a big piece of what it looks like after crimes against humanity have been committed, right?
It's one of the biggest parts. And, some kind of, nowadays it'd be called like truth and reconciliation committees or councils or investigative bodies, things like that. Like, establishing the truth of the matter is one of the most important things you can do, because that is how you learn from it later. And, hopefully in all of our dreams and fantasies, these people would be held accountable, but of course they never are. And what happens eventually down the road when these things get kind of like sanded away on the edges, especially in the context of this guy, where you get to a point where, it wasn't that bad. Or, he stopped because he saw it was wrong. Like, and then you kind of get rid of the fact that he doomed quite possibly thousands of people to a life and death in bondage. And eventually you get to the point where people, especially it's happening in the United States nowadays, of this revision of the institution and history of chattel slavery in America, which by all accounts could be seen as a kind of pseudo-genocide in many ways, because you can't really consider a body of people living and thriving if they're only kept alive in a body of land to do manual labor. After a couple generations, they had no idea where they came from. They had no idea of their cultures. They had no idea of their mother tongues or languages. They were not given a quality of life that would allow them to thrive in a healthy manner. I mean, it matches 99% of the values that Raphael Lemkin had in play.
Yeah. Another thing that they lost was their religion.
Yes. Exactly.
In favor of Christianity.
Forced upon them in many ways, and sometimes literally.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases in plantations in North America, the only reason slaves were taught how to read was so they could read the Bible.
Yeah.
There's no dividing those two histories. And when you start to sand away people like him, people like other, pretty much almost every American founding father or important figure of the day, and you only talk about the quote unquote good things they did, you start to lose the reality of history, which is they're all fucking bastards for the most part.
And I will add on to that we are now in a moment in the United States where there is a full-fledged attempt now to ideologically capture history and basically erase the reality of slavery entirely.
Yeah. They're making the founding fathers quote Ben Shapiro, for Christ's sake.
There's another point that I want to make is that there's the evangelical narratives that you were talking about earlier as well is like one of the biographies that you can buy about William Wilberforce and his work with John Newton in the abolition of the slave trade is a book called Amazing Grace, written by American Christian fascist Eric Metaxas.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Jesus Christ.
Of course the fuck it is.
Eric Metaxas, who once wrote for VeggieTales, weirdly enough.
He did?
So
that is a strange connection I didn't expect.
He wrote a biography of John Newton. He also wrote a biography of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And of course, evangelicals love to flatter themselves by touting that connection. John Newton was an 18th century evangelical Christian
who stopped slavery
single-handed. He stopped it.
Yeah.
He saw the abolition.
A good example of what evangelicals do with that is look how, I thought a couple years ago, you can all make fun of me, but I thought a couple years ago, we really finally put the stake in the lost cause myth of the Confederacy.
Oh God, I wish.
Egg on my fucking face, right? I get it. But it is 100% being brought back to life like it's like the 1920s again.
Yeah.
We had this whole cultural understanding where these people and these monuments should not be honored in our town squares. And, the whole debate that that's how you learn history. You don't learn history from a statue built in 1936 in a public fucking park. You learn it in a museum or a classroom. Those places are a place of honor and understanding, not a place of education, and nobody's going to fucking lie to me and say other words. So put them in the museums. The Confederate flags came down. Unfortunately, it took some pretty awful things to happen. Yeah, but here we are again.
But what's so funny is that yes, they're propping up the corpse that we thought we had staked. But what's interesting about it is that people are smelling it in a way that gives me hope, because it's not catching on like these renamings and this bringing back of the Confederate statues. And I'm just going to say it because no one here seems to be brave enough to say it. Amazing Grace, fucking mid.
Disagree.
That song is a lugubrious, unrelenting, repetitive, stupid hymn. It doesn't have a fucking bridge. If he was so good, he would have written a fucking bridge.
It doesn't have
They don't have bridges. Hymns don't have bridges. That's a standard thing. That's like asking for your fucking Latin chants to have bridges.
They do. When they do the riffs in the middle, come on,
the guitar
that's everyone's
solo?
favorite part. Yeah,
give the monks guitars,
and that's what matters with Eric Metaxas. Him being a full-blown advocating for armed uprisings on January 6th in favor of Trump, right? Writing biographies of people like Dietrich Bonhoeffer, of all fucking people, right? They have to perceive of themselves as the victims rather than the perpetrators, because that allows them to be the perpetrators.
Yeah, because you're resisting oppression, right?
Yeah, all fascists generally think they're coming from a place of self-defense.
Yeah.
And the key part of that is self-victimization.
And I think that takes us nicely into our final episode of this set, number 91. We're actually going back.
We're going back in time.
We're going back to Whit 1, Hal Smith. This is an episode from 1989, written and directed by Paul McCusker, called A Mission for Jimmy. And let me tell you something. When I heard John Avery Whitaker saying, let's see if this thing works, and getting sucked off by a toilet.
I'm Alfreding over here.
It might be that, I saw 9 Inch Nails this past week, but I've just had 9 Inch Nails lyrics like bopping around in my head, and I wrote, I used to be above it, now I'm down in it. I am right back there again with Whit 1.
Jimmy's having the ultimate, like, relatable moment of every child who grew up going to church, where you're waiting after church to fucking go get some fried chicken and go home.
Yep.
And your fucking dad keeps talking to everybody.
What's the matter with you?
Nothing. I want to go home, that's all. I always have to wait forever for you and Mom every Sunday at morning after the service.
Always, Jimmy? Forever, Jimmy? I mean, do we need an attitude check, Jimmy?
No, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, George just got scary. This happens very rarely, but it happens. You can tell this is early Odyssey. He's like, I'm going to beat the shit out of you in front of everyone, James.
Go pick a branch from the front yard of the church, Jimmy.
Just stripped down to the trunk at this point.
Every father is having their child go cut a switch.
No! So Jimmy, it turns out, is actually mad because he's been put in charge. He's like 6. He's been put in charge of a fundraiser for the missionaries, all of them.
It seems like a less
sides.
than ideal job for a 6-year-old.
Yeah.
And we're going to see how he's uniquely unqualified to do this very
As a kid,
shortly.
with our affiliations with the International Mission Board and everything like that, we always would do a fundraiser, collect cans and get them recycled and send your 15 cents off to Zimbabwe or whatever.
Sure.
But leading a fundraiser, what do you think is going to be accomplished?
The first 6-year-old to embezzle. I can't wait.
We pretty promptly hear Jimmy's pitch for how he wants to promote this fundraiser. He shows it off to his dad.
Yeah, he's making some posters.
Well, this is my first poster. What do you think?
Well, let's see here. They need our help. Oh, nice headline. But what's this?
Oh, that's the missionary, of course.
It is? With a plate on his head?
That's a safari hat.
Oh.
I kind of made it to look like a halo, being like a saint and stuff.
Jimmy.
What happened to the rest of him? Is that supposed to be his body there?
No, you can't see his body because he's in a pot.
A pot.
Yeah, and there's the fire at the bottom. Neat idea, huh?
A fire and a pot. And what are all these figures in the background here?
The cannibals doing their native dance.
Cannibals?
Right. See, he's a missionary to them, and they decided they were gonna...
Hold on. Don't finish. I don't want to know.
George is woke. He won't let Jimmy put this based poster up at the church.
Although, here's what I will say. George then goes on to be like, it's not just preaching to cannibals in Africa.
He's more upset that he thinks that's what missionaries do rather than the portrayal of the Africans. He says, you have to find out more about the missionaries. It's like, no, he has to learn about the Africans.
George is mad that the missionary is treated like a victim here. And he's like, no.
Not all of us turn into soup, Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy's just been watching too many old Warner Brothers cartoons.
He was watching Cannibal Holocaust with Grandma.
He's watching Mondo films.
This is early Odyssey, again, 1989. I will say this shocked me.
Yeah.
After listening to the other episodes, I was not as surprised. I didn't know what date this came out in. For all I know, this is what conservatives still say last week.
Right.
Even more so now.
It's come back. It's come back around.
Except now 80s, Jimmy would just say the word.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny you say that. Anyway, Jimmy gets some books. George brings Jimmy all of his missionary books. This is a big thing.
Right.
We all have our copies of Peace Child and our the documentary The End of the Spear and everything like that.
Sure.
Jimmy, we're gonna go to North Sentinel Island.
Jimmy starts reading a book by Dan Isidro. We've actually listened to later episodes where Dan is a character where they do kind of an Indiana Jones thing.
Now, to be clear, this is not a real guy, right? This is
just a
purely
fake guy who wrote a fake book that Jimmy is reading in universe.
In a fake universe.
And he's played by Rick Nahara. We've talked about that. That was an episode that Trevor Strunk was on, where they do the bull. Right. Eugene gets fucked by a Mexican lady. So Jimmy is reading this book about Dan Isidro and then falls asleep reading it and then has a dream where he meets Dan Isidro where he is. And I wonder where he is. We hear him working on this Jeep out in the jungle somewhere.
Come on. Wow, look at this place. It's like a Tarzan movie.
Jimmy, listen to me. This is very important.
Luis ran all the way from El Toro with a message. A child is very sick and we have to go get him.
Why doesn't someone call an ambulance?
Somebody did. That's why we're going.
I don't get it.
We're the only ones that's part of the country with a Jeep.
Part of what country? I don't even know where I am.
You were in a deep sleep, weren't you? Nicaragua.
Nico, what?
No!
No!
Jimmy! Now's not the time to play your mixtape, Jimmy.
Just for the record, I'm not shortening that one and putting it into the repertoire of clips.
No.
However, you needed to hear it.
What were they thinking?
There was not
What
any.
were they thinking?
They passed this script
There was
around.
no
They got parts of this
thinking.
translated into Spanish. They passed the script around the department, and no one really thought to highlight that particular line.
It's because it was passed around to a group of people whiter than my desk in the late 80s.
Yeah. I would argue that perhaps it was passed around to somebody and they were like, you know what? Let him say it.
Let Jimmy say the word. He'll love
Jimmy.
it.
Let him say
Oh
it.
my
This was
God.
2020's Jimmy in 1980s. He says the word.
Fucking
So
Christ.
we are in 1980s Nicaragua,
Yeah.
right? We are right in the middle of the conflict between the Sandinistas
This
and the
is
Contras.
so insane, dude. This is so insane.
Well, it's also weird that we start the episode talking about missionaries in Africa.
And end up in
right?
Nicaragua.
And then we go, and then we just go to
This is something that
Nicaragua.
Odyssey kind of plays with a little bit, is like when you say missionary, the first thought you have is Africa. So they're saying there aren't just missionaries in Africa. There's another episode, which I didn't make you listen to, where he just goes to the Nairobi Children's Home in Connellsville, Ohio.
For me, the first thing I think of actually is Central and South America, because that's how the United States does a lot of its dirty work.
I mean, I've run into missionaries in the Caucasus as well, but they're normally like Mormons.
Oh,
or,
sure.
What's the other?
Jehovah's Witnesses?
Jehovah's Witnesses, yeah.
Really?
And everybody thinks they're really weird.
It's like, hey, Armenians, did you know there's another testament?
Yeah. Everybody's like, the strange Americans came to my door again. I'm like, oh, you mean the Mormons? They're like, yes.
With the church that I grew up in, most of the missionary work that the church supported was missions to Honduras, to Nicaragua, to El Salvador.
It's because much like the encyclopedia company, they all work for the NSA.
Yeah, so let's get into that. Dan starts talking. They get the car on the road. They're doing this medevac of some child in some remote village. And Dan tells Jimmy what they're going to have to watch out for.
Keep your eyes open.
Why? What am I looking for?
Soldiers are rebels. Doesn't matter. Either will shoot us if they get the chance.
What?
Well, that is
The way
true.
they work down here. They fight each other or anyone who gets in their way. That's why they don't like us, I guess. They want wars and revolutions. We teach love, change hearts through Jesus Christ. Tends to mess up their plans.
But I thought you were a missionary. I thought all you did was hand out pamphlets to natives and stuff like that.
I wish it were that easy.
So previously it's like, oh yeah, you're a slave trader until you become a good enough Christian. You realize, if you're Christian for long enough, you realize you can't trade slaves anymore. If you're a good enough Christian in Nicaragua, you'll have no part of any conflict, right? Because you just believe in the love of Christ.
Yeah,
but you do still have to look out for Contras.
Yeah.
Did you join the Contras, Jimmy?
Well, and so, like Dan is saying, yeah, we have absolutely nothing to do with any of that, and no missionary would. Of course, at this exact point in time, you're getting stories in the LA Times where CERT, the Christian Emergency Relief Team based out of Carlsbad, California, was bringing aid specifically to the Contras, and then an offshoot of CERT called the Rescue Task Force, which, of course, because it was an offshoot, was also based in Carlsbad, California, was smuggling bullets into Nicaragua specifically to supply to the Contras. Now,
running into Reagan's dudes like, you guys going to the Contras too?
Now, I do want to make this really clear. This wasn't the only thing happening. There were plenty of Christians also on the Sandinista side. There were plenty of American Christians who were opposed to the U.S. sending any kind of fucking money down there to the Contras to allow this protracted war to continue on and on and on. And in fact, when congressional approval for military aid for the Contras was defeated, when that bill for it was defeated in Congress, Reagan blamed the churches. He blamed the base of resistance to this, and for the actions against it, he blamed it on Christians.
I'm curious at this point too, Joe, like how this framing. Were you surprised when we went to Nicaragua and found ourselves between the Sandinistas and Contras? Did that surprise you?
Compared to the other couple episodes that we've listened to, that was a real curveball for me. I didn't think Nicaraguan civil war was going to be a backdrop.
Yeah,
right.
And when I was a kid listening to this in probably the late 90s, I didn't really know the backdrop of this, right? The Civil War had ended.
Nobody in the target audience knows anything about this, which is the point, because
not even the grown-ups.
Yeah, well, of course. And so everyone listening to this, like, well, obviously the missionaries in the middle are only doing good.
There were like 9 adults in Carlsbad, California who were Alfreding to this episode, like the wind. But I mean,
like
other than
wind?
There's only one person in the entire world who's ever had wind come out of their urethra, and he's on this call right now.
Yeah, there's this kid, and they have to medevac the kid to the hospital or whatever. They have the only Jeep in Nicaragua, apparently. That's a line.
So I'm going to play this clip. I think the interesting part of this clip is what happens kind of at the end of it.
Pero me temo que está muriéndose.
They got real Spanish speakers. How about
She said
that?
he's feverish and can't eat because his throat is swollen. She doesn't know whether it's just an infection or some sort of disease. She's afraid he's dying.
This music is like Venture Brothers music.
Do you want to buy us some? I'm sorry. Esto va a ser un problema.
Sí. What are you saying?
Él es un indio, un mosquito.
Sí, pero necesita ayuda.
What? What's wrong? I wish you guys came with subtitles.
He's a mosquito Indian. They are being persecuted by many of the Nicaraguans.
Persecuted? You mean like they're fed to lions and stuff?
Not quite, but they're being driven out of the country. Many for their Christian beliefs. A lot of the businesses and hospitals won't serve them.
So this is talking about true stuff. He's using language that's not super specific, which is interesting because this is essentially a propaganda piece.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like they're partnering with the foreign missions branch of Focus on the Family to find some of these actors and to get some of the Spanish translation done. And specifically focusing on the Mosquito tribe up on the northern coast. There is a sort of persecution for their Christian beliefs because they are Moravian Protestants and everybody else is Catholic.
Yep.
Right. This isn't a secular communist regime that is persecuting people for being Christian. This is a very specific, very unusual branch of Protestantism. There's not a lot of Moravians in the world. But the Moravian identity was a rallying cry for the Mosquito and for especially those who were rallied to be Contras. And fight against the coalition. And so this is a way to get sympathy for the Contras in America, and not just to get sympathy. Sympathy is one thing, but like to get actual material, monetary, and weapons support for the Contras.
Sure.
By saying, well, look at look at this tribe, look at these people who are being oppressed. And it's funny that McCusker wrote this because he would eventually convert. At this point, he's probably still Methodist in '89. And so it's like, well, these Protestants, these real Christians are being persecuted by the fake Christians, the Catholics.
And when it comes to this episode, like they're never going to explain they're being persecuted by other Christians.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And they're certainly not going to point out that the Catholics are in the position of power here, because that makes it look like what it is. And that is an overwhelmingly Christian nation.
Yeah.
And a sectarian conflict with political valence, right?
Because as it turns out, whether the Sandinistas are in power or not, the tribes are getting screwed.
Especially in the context of a lot of, especially the Guatemalan Civil War, other civil wars in the region, is the native population are being persecuted for racism.
Yes,
and
right.
Most of the time, it's a little more than it's just settler colonialism in your own backyard.
And they were being persecuted by the Sandinistas. I want to be very clear on that. Like, I don't want to downplay that. And now that the Sandinistas, have had more power in recent years, again, it's happening again. However, they were also being persecuted regardless. There's continued settlement and erosion of Mosquito territory. However, it's because they're Christian and everyone else is not.
That's right.
What religion is everyone else? Shut up, Jimmy.
Okay, and that's the other thing about the latter half of this episode is that Jimmy becomes insufferable because they make him very dumb.
They make him incredibly stupid. Yeah.
There's a point at which they say they're talking Spanish, and as part of it, they say Jimmy's name. And he's like, wait, what did you just say? Did you say my name? And it's like,
are you talking about me?
It's like, yeah, they're talking about you. They said Jimmy Barkley, you fucking moron. Jimmy starts calling it the bubonic plague.
Oh, God.
Yep. I forgot about that part.
And they don't understand him. It's like, come on, just put two and two together.
Come on.
And that's a MASH moment. That's a thing they stole directly from MASH, was telling the soldiers that he has
to get through a checkpoint.
To get through the security checkpoint. Yeah.
AJ, you outmatched me. But however, at that checkpoint, the guards, Jimmy's been racist so far, so the guards do a little racism back to him.
That's right.
Hello, gringo.
That one is staying in rotation.
We heard you said the N-word, Jimmy.
Dan, we have to do something. Pablo will die. You said so yourself. He's gonna die if we don't get him help.
What's happening?
Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
He's falling down a well again.
Get classy, Jimmy.
We have to do something.
Jimmy?
I have to do something.
Son, wake up.
I have to do something.
Crickets are really loud. Is he outside?
Dad?
He's in Evangelical with the cicadas going the whole show.
I think it was a dream. I don't know. I have to do something. He needs my help.
Dad, what? Who needs your help?
I'm the origami killer.
Dan, the missionary. The missionaries need my help.
Oh.
I have to do something, Dad. Will you help me?
Of course, son. Of course.
Shut the fuck up, Jimmy.
See, the whole thing about missionaries is that they're all really cool and they're doing really intense shit, unlike you.
Yeah.
They just need more money.
Flabby, suburban American.
That's such a funny music cue, by the way. And he actually ends up meeting the real Dan Isidro because like they have a big party. Everybody comes in with everything for a huge party.
Yeah, Jimmy holds a Christmas party fundraiser, but it's like a Christmas in October kind of thing.
Right.
And it's they do a little continuity.
Cowards to do Halloween.
Yeah. They do a little continuity. There's an episode about that too, about how they can't do Halloween.
Of course, there fucking is.
So they have some continuity with a Christmas episode where the Barkleys had all their presents stolen and the town came by and gave them all presents. So Jimmy was inspired by that to do this Christmas party.
The stole Christmas.
And then, Dan Isidro shows up at the end. The guy from the dream's a real dude, and he's going to do a slideshow or something. And that's how it ends.
Christmas party for missionaries at this time of year?
At this time of day?
Weird.
So you've said. Look, why don't you go help your mother with the cookies, Donna?
Christmas tree cookies, I'll bet.
You better believe it.
Yes.
Weird.
Eggnog, sir?
Oh, hi, Whit.
Yeah, and Whit shows up, the fucking lush. He's already wasted on nog.
He makes such a show out of pulling out his checkbook and being like, well, I'm going to write you a big fat check, Jimmy.
$5 whole dollars.
The encyclopedia business has been very good to me. I have also made several inconsequential trips to Nicaragua.
But like, what can we take away here from all of this? As
what have we
regards,
learned about God's calling for us?
Yeah. Joe, do you feel called in any particular way after doing these episodes?
Feel called to the hammers for Jimmy, that's for sure.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
I never really heard anything from conservatives when it came to like let's say the missionaries' point of view and like missionary propaganda in a way, because this is so divorced from my upbringing. So like I always saw missionaries from a very young age as deeply strange and weird people, because they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like seeing it from their point of view and how they see the world is quite troubling.
What is troubling about it?
Like they like you said, like they feel a calling, and in the middle of this horrible morass of violence fueled mostly by the country they came from and fueled by their fellow missionaries, they still are like, we are the only good people here. All these people are simply lost. It's such a fucking weird way to go about life to me.
I would argue though that it is, I mean, that is America in a nutshell, really. Like that is how we conduct ourselves on the global stage, I think.
Oh,
and
for
this
sure.
Is just,
I don't disagree.
This is just a microcosm of that thing, but there's the added strangeness of the fact that their work is, at least theoretically, strictly religious in nature.
And this piece of media obviously is meant for non-missionary people, and that is, of course, how most people see them. Like at worst, people see them as weird religious nut jobs who go to different countries and annoy them, or like that guy who got an arrow through the face at North Sentinel Island.
Yeah.
It's like, whatever, they're crazy, but they're harmless. When in reality, the constant open spigot of American missionaries are causing irreparable damage everywhere they go.
You will then see when governments, particularly socialist governments, expel missionaries, then the USA will be like, "Oh, you don't like religious freedom."
Right, yeah.
And
They're
it's
just
like,
missionaries. They're just handing out pamphlets and medevacing children instead of, the fact that the missionaries are very often openly working with the United States government, sometimes in the course of getting vaccines to people through USAID or doing much darker shit through USAID.
I think the thing that really struck me this time was just hearing about how like the entire infrastructure of their imagined Nicaragua is controlled by the United States missionaries, right? The doctor in the office is also with them.
The one Jeep in the country controlled by them.
Right.
I mean, it's an important part for people to remember, if they don't know, that missionary work has always been connected to the spread of empire.
Yeah.
And it can work in multiple different ways. Like, for example, France is a really good example of how you can use missionaries in a place that's relatively hostile to them to give you an excuse to then deploy soldiers to, quote unquote, guard these missionaries. And then you get what's called mission creep, where it goes from guarding missionaries to guarding the faithful.
Yeah.
And then why don't we also just kind of administer this area? And that's how you got the Indochina War.
Well, I wanted to thank you, Joe, for coming on a mission to join us here.
I felt a calling to podcast.
And do you feel that your calling has been fulfilled today?
I think I have to go on and podcast further.
Wonderful. I'm so glad to hear it.
Spread the good word.
Joe, if folks want to follow you around, see what you're up to, tell us a bit more about what you do and how people can find you.
I'm the host of the Lions That Buy Donkeys podcast. We talk about history, military history, and all sorts of horrific things throughout history. And you can listen to it wherever it is you listen to podcasts. And we also have a live show coming up in Glasgow, Scotland. This show itself is sold out, but we are doing a live stream. So, and those have no limits. Well, I've been told the limit's like 500,000. Feel free to test me on that. Tickets are still available to the live stream. And you can follow me on whatever social media thing you still use. I'm on all the horrible ones. You can find me on there.
If you are listening to our show for the first time, hello, welcome. Thanks for listening. We got plenty more stuff just like this in the back catalog, not just episodes of Whit's Endless Summer, of which there are 45 more, but also lots of deep dives into other pieces of media. Every other week we paywall the episodes, so all that stuff is premium, and you can find all of it at patreon.com/worstofall for $5 a month, including the second half of our two-parter that we did about Final Fantasy VII with one Joe Kassabian. Go check us out. And again, thank you so much for listening.
So the thing I come back to throughout all of these episodes, the thing that struck me the most was this idea that if you have cruelty done to you, that you will enact that cruelty onto somebody else. And that, for me, is really the core of what we're seeing in the Evangelical Project right now. It's what we're seeing in Project 2025, because it's not just the cruelty that we are currently enacting on people. It is the cruelty that our ancestors enacted on everyone. And this idea that if we don't continually enact cruelty, that we will be destroyed. What this eventually does is that it just turns you into a conspiracy nut. Like, it makes you paranoid and it makes you turn in on yourself. And really, it isolates you in this echo chamber that you're just going to get more paranoid. You're just going to spiral down until all you can think about is revenge. And it's a one-way ticket to being blackpilled. And really, all it is a bunch of conservatives standing in a hate-filled room, Alfreding each other off.
God damn it.
I'm the worst of all possible AJs.
I'm the worst of all possible Brians.
What's your last name?
Alfred.
And I'm the worst of all possible Joshes. See you next week.